PR Connections Radio presents
My hair is crooked. Good afternoon. Welcome back to Cozy Up and Pay Attention, Season 2. Hold on a second. Which way do I set it? Season 2. If you're looking at my face, today it's 4:30 and not 2 o'clock. I had to accommodate my guests. We have a non-parent on today who's going to share her choices about parenthood or non-parenthood. If you would kindly take a deep breath and let it out. I'll be right back.
Cozy Stone is a multi-talented comedian extraordinaire who has a real lust for life. She also combines humor and motivation, where she is known as a humorvational speaker. Her youthful ways and positive light make her a beacon for those of all ages. Cozy has lived a remarkable life that has paved the way for so many. She had the longest running open mic venue of 11 years at Tommy Rockers in Vegas, called Cozy's Comedy Corner, through which she introduced many up-and-coming comedians. Before going into comedy, she was one of the first female personal trainers and one of the top fitness trainers in the world. She has trained many greats such as Billie Jean King, Roberta Flack, Andrew Young, Ed Bradley, CCH Pounder, Al Pacino, and Earl Monroe. As a former competitive bodybuilder, she also owned a bodybuilding gym for women over 40 in Los Angeles for several years. She has worked in top positions for HBO, Playboy, and Tony Robbins. She also enjoys volunteer work, dedicating time to the New York Foundling Hospital and babies with AIDS. Cozy Stone has a message that shouldn't be missed.
If you would kindly bring me my Crystal Keath, I would appreciate it.
Hello.
Hello, Miss Crystal. How are you today?
Good. How are you doing, Cozy?
I'm doing okay. And I'd like to tell my guest the show is parenting, and now I've decided to include non-parents for all the right reasons. There are no books on perfect parenting. Um, and so that's why we all decided, those of us, not to be one. This show is also not about parent shaming. And I'd like to start promoting women and men, if you will, who have decided for their own reasons, they just did not want to bring another human being into this world. And for the record, my record, that is so okay. So, Crystal, what I'd like to do is give the audience some background on you, where your parents, how old they were, where did they meet, your parents?
My parents met in the Marine Corps,
Ooh,
and
yeah, hoorah? Was that the Army?
hoorah.
Hoorah, hoorah.
Hoorah is the Army, hoorah is the Marines.
No, what do I know? I've
Yes,
never
so
been any of them.
yeah, they met in the military, and I think they weren't together very long before they had me. They didn't stay together very long after they had me. And so my mom was a single parent for a little bit. She remarried a few times, and we moved around a lot because she was in the military
Okay.
as I was growing up. So,
And
yeah.
so, being a military brat, did you spend any major time in any one place?
The longest time that I remained in one place growing up was in Chicago, and we were there for 8 or 9 years, but we moved from there when I was maybe 10 or 11. So, after that, Las Vegas is the longest I've ever been anywhere.
Wow.
Well, Las Vegas is the longest I've been anywhere, that's the second, but I was a child, so I don't really remember a ton about it.
Where were you doing your teenage years?
We lived in Michigan for a little bit. We lived in Arizona twice, Nevada, California, back to Nevada. Yeah, there was a lot of moving there.
And even while you were doing these moves, you had friends. I mean, as we're growing up, and it doesn't matter what age we are, were your friends, your girlfriends, having babies out of wedlock? I'm not saying all of them, but a good deal of them.
Um, yeah, I had quite a few friends. I would say once I was like more in high school, right? Like junior in high school, I had a couple friends who had gotten pregnant, and then even in my 20s, I had friends who had kids. Yeah.
And sibling wise, where are you in the hierarchy of your siblings?
So I was an only child growing up, but when I have a half brother and sister. He's 15 years younger than me, and she's 17 years younger than me. So I was already older when they were born.
When did you decide that and knew for certain that you did not want to have kids? And can you remember what it was that impacted that decision?
So when I was younger, so like the final decision was maybe a couple of years ago, like maybe a couple of years ago. I always thought that I wanted kids, but looking back, I think it's more just like programming because that's what you're supposed to do, you know? And but then once I was like in my teens and 20s and things, I live in Las Vegas and I like to party. I did my great deal of partying and having fun and living my life and doing all of the things. And I knew that I wasn't responsible enough for a kid. I knew that, I wasn't clean enough to have a kid, as far as like using drugs and alcohol and things like
Yeah,
that.
I got
Uh,
that.
that's a big factor.
I didn't think you
Um,
meant your house. Okay.
yeah, and then so once I actually got clean and stopped drinking and things like that, and then it was kind of a thing where my partner and we've been together for 16 years this year. And so we had always like kind of pushed the decision off. And then we were like, well, I'm not I know I'm not old, but we're getting to the age where we need to figure it out. And it's like we either are or we aren't, but we don't really feel a really strong pull to have a kid. It's kind of like, well, like the reasons for having a kid, we didn't feel were like those are the reasons that you should wanting to be have a kid, right? Like 'cause that's what you're supposed to do, or like we're put on this earth to create and things like that. And I really believe I'm a teacher and I have ways of giving to other people and creating in other ways.
So you answered several of my questions with one answer. Because if you've been with this gentleman for 16 years, so my question was going to be, have you ever been married or engaged? And the answer is no and no.
No, and we're not married and we don't plan on getting married.
Oh, you
We're
sound
just
like
we're just breaking all the societal norms. We're like, we're not gonna
no,
do that either.
no, you're living your life, right?
Yeah, well, and that's another thing is like we really enjoy our life. And the longer we waited, the more we're like, well, I don't know if that's something that we wanna change. There's still a lot that we want to experience and do in life. And we just decided that we're good not participating in
Now
the
I know
parenting.
as women, girls, teenagers, what have you, sometimes we get into a conversation of, oh, well, when I get married, or that ideal guy, or I want to have two kids, a boy and a girl. If they could predict that, right? Did you, in fact, have that conversation with your girlfriends, an aunt, your grandmother, your mom at any time?
So because I was an only child,
Mhm.
I always wanted a brother or sister, I had decided that if and when I had kids, I wanted twins. Do 2 at once,
That's
get
true.
them both
That's
out of the way,
lucky.
and then they were gonna be best friends and, like, do all the twinning things. And that was just the thing that I had decided. Yeah.
Was there a point, and I don't know if there is a point, I'm trying to remember if I had a point, where you actually had a conversation with your mom that because mothers want to be grandmothers. No, that's beyond me, but we know they do. Did you, in fact, ever have a sit down conversation, or not, or have a sit down conversation with your mom about that?
Yeah, so my mom, was always open to having grandchildren, and I remember after a while of being with my partner, she's like, "If you guys wanna have kids, if you guys don't wanna have kids, that's okay too," because I think she was kinda starting to pick up on the vibe that maybe we were going in that direction, and so she's completely supportive. She has fur grandbabies, and
Yes.
she's good with that.
And the reason I ask again, as you keep bringing up so wonderfully, society and their doggone rules. Uh, was there anyone at any time, even a girlfriend that said, you're gonna miss kids, or oh, they're just so wonderful. Yeah.
It's actually really interesting that you say that. So my partner's grandma is like, "Don't do it. Don't do it. They'll ruin your life."
Oh,
One of my best friends who has 2 kids, she's like, "Don't do it." I've actually heard from a lot of people like, "Don't do it. You guys have the best life." Don't do it. When him and I were more not like first together, but like in that first few years, his
Mhm.
mom would always drop the little like, "Oh, I want grandbabies." I'm like, "You have grandbabies already. Like you don't need grandbabies from us." And now she's good with the fur babies too. So yeah.
Does he have any nephew or nieces?
Yes, he has, let's see. He has a few. He has a couple nephews, a few nieces. Yeah.
Do you spend any time at all around and anybody, any kind, not any kind of kids, Kelsey, any, we know they're all kind. Any, do you spend any time with children? And it could
S
be nephew and nieces.
Yeah, we spend time besides his nephew and nieces. I have friends that have kids, and I always feel like my friends' kids are so well behaved, but then I see other kids sometimes and I'm like, "Oh, I don't want any part of that." So I've been really lucky to be around people who have really great behaved kids. Um, you know, there are some kids that I see they get into their teenage years and I'm like, I could see how parents would not enjoy that part. I could see how my mom did not enjoy that part because
Mine,
I
mine
was
either.
not easy.
Not either. It's not.
Yeah, I would probably be punished. That may have been another part of my reasoning. Fear of fear of what was to come.
Wow, I love that I'm bringing on non-parents. Each one of you, I thought the answers were going to be similar, and they're not. And the fact that so far you're one of the, again, I think you're one of four, three or four, who had more people tell you not than most people who were trying to encourage
Yeah.
people to have kids. Let's get into your questions, your chosen questions.
Okay.
I don't know why the heck I put in here in your opinion, because and let me help you. Don't say in your opinion. That's why you're on here. It only matters your opinion. And I put it on. I gotta take this off my questions. Uh, do you think, I'll rephrase my own question, uh, giving birth is a traumatic experience?
I think it can be. I think it can be a really beautiful experience, and there's a lot of reasons why. I've had friends that, did, like, natural at home births that were traumatic, but also ones that were amazingly beautiful that, was like nothing else. And even for births in the hospital, I've heard both things. So I think that it can go either way. I think for our
In
body, it's traumatic.
what you say?
I think for our body, it's traumatic, but it can be a really beautiful experience at the same time.
Well, that brings into my next question. When you see it in your head, even those of us who've never carried or wanted to, we put it in our heads. I did. It sounds like you did as well. All of what it took to bring a birth, bring a human being in this world. Did you see it as a traumatic experience?
Um, I would have said yes up until, like, a few years ago when I started learning about, friends who have had home births and things like that, and I actually found that to be really beautiful, and I was like, "Well, if that was a path that I was wanting to go down, I would probably do that as well." I think the pregnancy part just doesn't look fun to me either.
That's the
Um,
question. I got to change it to giving birth to pregnancy. You
yeah,
absolutely right.
yeah, yeah, the
Yeah,
pregnancy part, I'm
is
just
that
like
9 months?
yeah.
Right?
And then if you go right back for another one, then it's another and yeah, yeah, and
And
I'm
they, and
like
they, and they and they go back, so they give you the impression it's such a wonderful experience. But let's move on.
yeah.
Your next question is: when you made your decision, were your factors financial, body in it, blah, 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 body image, or personal independence? Which one?
It's more personal independence. Yeah, I like my freedom. I wanna travel the world still, and yeah, I wanna go. I wanna do what I wanna do when I wanna do it.
And there are women out there watching now and saying, "Well, we traveled. We didn't stop us." And to that, you say, "There's an answer to that." Come on,
Ye
Chris.
and that's good. I just wanna travel with my partner or by myself and with my friends. I
And,
wanna live
here's,
on a sailboat and travel the world, and I know there's
and
people that
here's
do that with their kids, but what are you
and I'll add the parentheses without a knapsack on your back.
There we
That's
go.
that is. All right. Your next question is hmm, your thoughts on the societal stress and norms regarding parenthood. In other words, what do you think about the fact that here we are in 2023, and I believe you know better than me because of our age difference, that is society still stressing women having kids, Miss Millennial? Because I don't know.
I think it's less. It's becoming less because there's so many millennials and what is it, Gen Zs, whatever. There's so many people choosing not to have kids, like younger people that are like, I don't want any part of that. And I think it's starting to become more normal. In the beginning of our relationship, we would always get that question, when are you guys going to have kids? When are you guys going to have kids? And I think it's definitely switching. It's definitely switching up a lot.
That's what I thought.
Hmm.
See how much that makes me smile.
There's a lady who's writing a book about like deciding to not be a parent, like for women, and like empowering that and encouraging that because it may not be for everybody, and that's okay. Either way is okay.
Well, yes, but it's really okay when you make that conscious decision
Hmm.
to do your job as a parent. And doggone it, it's a job.
Yeah, yeah,
Those are
the hardest
the,
job.
those are the parents. That's right. The guests that I have on here more than now having the non-parents.
Yeah.
It's more than a notion. So good for her. And I thought that millennials, they make me so proud. If I've lived long enough to see anything, that so I came along with the when they perfected the birth control pill. And God said,
Mhm.
give them the cozy because she's gonna run rapid on men like there's nobody's business, and she doesn't want anybody's babies. I didn't get blood clots, I didn't get headaches, I didn't get morning. I took a pill. I learned how to take pills without water when I started, and that's the truth. Oh, don't I get on a desert, I can still have sex, right?
They're small enough. It's not too bad.
Yeah. So now, here it is, all these many decades later,
Mhm.
and I have lived long enough to see where women understand that it's their choice. It's always their choice without society making it so,
Mhm.
right? So, all right. Your next question is, what replaces parenthood in your life?
My dogs. My dogs and parenting myself.
Huh?
My dogs and parenting myself. I'm still growing myself, and I'm still healing all my shit and all my stuff, and I'm still learning to parent myself, and my fur babies kind of fill that space for me, and they don't talk back, and that's great.
And then you also mentioned that you have a fruitful relationship with your honey. You've
Mhm.
got friends. I know some of your wonderful friends. I'm sure I would imagine all of your friends are as wonderful as you.
Mhm.
You want to travel, you travel, you have your classes. There is so much more to being spit up on in life.
It's the boogers that concern me. I don't want the boogers on me. Oh my
That's,
gosh.
that's fair. Yes, that's fair. Again, it can be just so advertised and romanticized, and I get it. And I get it, you get it, we all get it for those who want it,
Mhm.
right?
Absolutely.
And this show again is to demonstrate and promote now, I'm so excited, women who don't, and women and men who do. And when my parents are on here and they're talking about their sacrifices and wiping boogers and don't mind being spit upon and peed on and pooped on, that's a wonderful thing, as long as it's not on my couch. It is just so, this is what they chose.
Mhm.
And they don't have any qualms about it. They would not take back these wonderful humans that they're raising. And then, of course, we know in parentheses, in quotes, there are them who didn't take any of this to consideration,
Mhm.
who are not ready, who are not able, who are not willing. And those are some of the people before they take that first shot of tequila that they may. I'm sure there are more tequila babies in this city from anywhere else.
Uh-huh.
Nothing good happens from tequila, and
No.
nothing good happens from tequila after 12 o'clock.
No.
Right?
Nope. Nothing.
That's fair. However, we still walking around with this. I'm going to say what you gave me earlier, that you have no room in your womb for anyone to go. I like that, Crystal.
Yeah.
I like that.
Oh,
I will be using that.
you
Uh,
use it. Use
let's do
it.
your next question,
Okay.
which is, wow, I like this one. What advice would you give to young people, men and women, about parenting?
Before you make the decision or not consciously end up in a space where you're bringing a child into this world, get to know yourself, get to love yourself first, right? Get to know, like, heal the parts of you that were passed down to you from your parents that you're still holding on to, that a lot of us aren't even conscious of the stuff that we carry around that we took on from our parents and our grandparents and, like, later on down our lineage. And really just start to get to know yourself first and find yourself and love yourself before you bring another child into the world, because it's a huge responsibility. And we can unconsciously pass our own stuff down onto children, even being in the womb, like, energetically, like, the baby in the womb picks up on the energy around, and it can feel it whether people realize it or not.
I love your answers.
Thank
I'm
you.
telling you, that's why you're my child. That's why you're my daughters. It's energy. We've got it. We've had it since we first met. And you're right. And to add on to what you just said, that goes both ways.
Mhm.
Um, I'm watching Korean series right now. They're awesome. So here's one right now. It really is. It's entertaining me while I'm home. And the young lady is pushing up on this gentleman, pushing up on him. They've been dating maybe 2 weeks or maybe less than a month, if you will. And she wants to know everything about him. Well, that's fine if she's seeing him along the way. So, but to bring back to front to what you just said, get to know the person that you want to have children with, because
Mhm.
both parties are bringing, I don't like the word baggage, are bringing their past,
Mhm.
are bringing their upbringing, are bringing, I like to say, their DNA,
Mhm.
right? And my as a comedian, my DNA is you did not ask. Say what DNA stands for. You did not ask and do not assume,
Mhm.
right? You need to give it a minute. Uh, when I was out there, out and about, and when I tell you I was out and about, I never got phone numbers from a man in a bar,
Mhm.
ever, ever. We're talking 20 to 50. I don't want to meet someone in a bar. I don't want his phone number. I don't want to meet anyone who's drinking.
Mhm.
Now, if there was someone that I really wanted to bump up on, I would get his number. And I mean, it was my choice. And I'd call him the next day. And I'd have maybe breakfast, lunch, or go for a walk while I was running there. We can run together. But now I want to meet this person who's not imbibed,
Mhm.
whose head is on straight.
Yeah.
This way, when he lies, I can see it closer than I know lies when I see it coming out the lips, right? Or to be fair, when they're being honest.
Yeah.
So what we're both saying is you want to get to know, it would be nice, if you will, to get to know someone before you before you multiply with them.
Mhm.
Right?
And I
Go ahead.
and I actually think if you get to know yourself and love yourself, you won't look for people who fit that bill. Funny thing is I met my partner in a bar. But, like, it's a journey, right? And yeah, you need to, if you know yourself and love yourself, you won't put up with those things from people, and you recognize your worth, and then you attract those people who are more high caliber that you deserve to have in your life, that treat you right.
And to be fair, Crystal, and you've met me and been around me, I'm an oddity in more ways than one. I
Yes,
bet
you
you
are.
there's a higher percentage of people who've met because we're out, it's social.
Mhm.
And that's okay. And they're wonderful, I'm sure. Marriages, relationships that have happened that way. I just chose not to. I was born and raised in New York City. I can meet a man walking to work. I can meet
Mhm.
a man on lunch hour. I can meet
Yeah.
a man roller skating. I can meet a man anywhere outside of a bar.
Mhm.
So I did not go. If I went out to the club, as we called it, I went out to dance, and I am not kidding you. And I'm getting my thing on. I'm having a good time, and somebody wants to talk. I said, I didn't come here to talk. I didn't. I didn't come to talk.
Just dance.
No, no.
Don't talk.
My name is not. Listen, while you're screaming over the music, my name is not important. Don't ask for my name. Just dance. And maybe they talk to me. I just ignore them. I just keep dancing. Yeah. And if I close my eyes, they walk away. I wouldn't care. I went out to have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a social animal. I don't care who I dance with. I really don't. I can stand in the middle of the floor and dance by myself. But I'm not trying to meet, I really mean that. I never wanted to meet anybody who's already drinking.
Yeah.
We go out, we have a drink, and that kind of thing. That's one thing. So let's get to your fun question. We've done well, Crystal.
Thank you.
You're fun. Oh, this is cute. What three foods would you like to eat for the rest of your life?
What three foods? Okay, hold on, let me think about this. Lately I love avocado pudding, which does not sound amazing, but it is amazing. But I love cake. So I would eat cake for the rest of my life. And Thai food. Anything Thai food.
Okay.
Mhm.
That's well, you've got your food group, your main food group, and then you've got your desserts. Because I'm going to ask, can you put avocado pudding on the top of the cake?
That's a great question. Maybe you could. You could use like it's a filling or like in between
Or
the
like a
two.
whipped cream? It's on top of the cake. It's
So it's
a
more like a pudding consistency. So maybe as like the filling
oh,
in between
what's it made out of? Do you know?
avocado, cacao, almond milk. I put cinnamon in it and then like some monk fruits sweetener. That's it.
Oh, you actually made this,
And it tastes like chocolate pudding.
and you just put it in a bowl, and
I put it in a bowl with either peanut butter and jelly or with almond butter and cocoa whip. I have all kinds of concoctions.
then you can put it on. Let me help you with something. Then you can put it on cake.
Well, yeah. But I wouldn't do it like a frosting.
We're not
Then
talking. No, no, no. All right.
oh,
So here, let me paint this picture for you,
okay.
babe. You
Let's
got
do
a
it.
piece of cake.
Yeah.
You got your avocado pudding.
Mhm.
Follow me here.
Mhm.
Get a spoon. You dip it in. Follow. Yeah. Ta-da!
Thanks for spelling it out for me,
Well,
Cozy.
I don't understand why you didn't see. Have you never put ice cream on top of a cake?
I put ice cream on cake all the time, but it's different to me. See, I'm a very like my mom was a cake decorator, and so I grew up with cake, and so to me that's like the filling.
Okay.
I
All
want
right.
my icing too.
Okay. Well, just for the record,
Yes,
in my
there's
head,
more possibilities.
and again, I'm going to show you taste buds so I can see. But you have to invite me over, and I want you to make me this avocado pudding.
Mhm.
I'll make
Mhm.
a little jar a bit. I'll bring it home, and I don't know what I'm going to put it on. I don't like chips and stuff.
You could just eat it by itself, girl.
That's why I ask you. Okay, it says
Yeah.
pudding. You
Yeah.
put it in a bowl, and you can eat it.
Mhm.
All right.
Mhm.
Okay. You are so wonderful.
You are so wonderful. I love
This
you.
was so enjoyable. And I want to say it, and I mean it from my heart. Why not talk about and bring to light women who it's just not for everybody?
Mhm.
And the fact that, yes, society has been selling this package. And the good news is, I didn't buy it. I've never bought anything society stole. I look and watch this stuff and say, I think that's going to make me happy. I'm going to do that. After I get well, I'm going to go back on stage and I'm going to talk about these wonderful 70 years that God has given me and how I have lived it walking through all of the mazes that told me I should, and my brain said, I don't
Mm.
think so. I don't think you're going to like that. And I wouldn't, and I didn't, and I'm glad I did not.
Mhm.
And to have, and I say this proudly, I have no regrets.
Mm.
There's nothing I would do over. And I can't tell you how many days in all this time I've been on this earth that I've heard myself say, thank God I didn't have children. And as you said earlier, when you're around, whether they're, kids who are well behaved, or especially when the parent is not, uh, there was something on TV, I think a news something, and this woman was in the restaurant and her kid was acting foolish. And I think the server said something to her about it, mentioning the other uh, patrons. And she reported her and she wanted a suit and take your baby home. Come on. There's a lady one time, real quick. I was serving, and uh, the lady's kid but she had just brought him in from the doctor, and the other kid was hungry. I'm trying to get the food to her, and I can't believe she has this sick baby. She actually called my manager on me. She asked me when was food, and I was going by, and I said, "It'll be ready in a minute," just like that. "It'll be ready in a minute." And it wasn't fast enough. And all I could think of, why are you in this restaurant with a sick child?
Hmm.
Now you want to report a server who's doing her best because I really want to put a spoon down your throat for bringing this sick baby. Not only did you bring this sick baby into the restaurant, you brought this sick baby on my table. Let's get real here. So, before we leave, I want to promote my witticism and my wonderful sense of humor for those of you who haven't picked that up yet. I have put it in a book. It's on Amazon. It's called Cozyisms, The Art of Paying Attention, and I do that very well. Please go to Amazon and help support a wonderful self-published author. We are on here usually at 2 o'clock, but every Tuesday, unless God knows something I don't. Um, if you would like to be on the show, if you have a friend who are raising their kids well, if you have friends like yourself who does not want to have children, they can reach me at cozyupandpayattention@gmail.com. And Crystal, I love to say to the audience with what you've added today, what we give every week, folks, sometimes when you know better, you do better. Thank you for watching Cozy Up and Pay Attention, the second season again, and we'll see you next week.